The
good.
first goal is to get set up. So you have your electrodes hooked up to a BIOL amplifier, which talks to this power lab, which talks to a computer. Okay? So we need a ground electrode, which in this case wraps around your wrist. It's in green. And then we have these electrical pads here, disposable. You want 2 of them on your thumb. This is the muscle we're going to stimulate. The negative, so it's going to go first, and then the positive. And then negative and positive is set up on the bioamp cable. You can see the colors. White for negative, black for positive. So now we're set up. We have this bar stimulator, which is going to administer shock, always fun. We're going to lightly dab some conductive cream on it. Don't need a lot, a little dab will do you. And then we have 2 programs set up here. This nerve effect program we'll work with first is going to administer continuous electrical shock. So it's the place where we're going to find, we're going to make ourselves twitch. So we set it for about 15 milliamps. And don't worry, this doesn't hurt, or I wouldn't be doing it. And then when you click this on, it will start administering shock. And then you search along your wrist. Typically it's right in this area here. And you can see the thumb twitching pretty well. At that point, we can turn off. Once we've found the sweet spot, we turn off the stimulator, and we go into this other file, evoked EMG. And what this is going to do is it's going to record from this electrode when it feels the impulse coming in. We're going to go to the stimulator, and we're going to turn it on. And then when we hit start, it will administer a shock. And you can see here's the stimulus, here's the response that it registered at the white electrode. So here's a time scale down below. So the distance from here to here is the time it took to go from here to here. All right? Now that we found this, we'll do this a couple of times. Hit start. Hit start again. And so you get an average, and they should overlap. You can see the red kind of gives you, what the average peak is. All right, so we're gonna, hang on. We're gonna turn the current up to 15, and then when we press on, it will give a continuous pulse of electricity, so we can find the area where you get twitching. And you can see my thumb twitching. Okay, so we know where the spot is. We turn this off. We get out of this setting. See? And we go to evoked EMG settings. Now we know where the spot is. We set the same thing. We set the stimulator on, and so when we press start, it'll just deliver a single pulse. We do that 5 times. Now before we move, we mark where the electrode is with a Sharpie. And then also, just so you see this, note that this is where the stimulus is, and you can either go by the base or go by the first peak, but this is the peak. Now to make measurements on this, you drag this M, which stands for marker, and you drag it up to your trace. And you put your cursor somewhere, like maybe the top. We'll just agree on the top. And notice that there's a little time constant here. So this distance from the M to the cursor is on a time scale of 7.5 milliseconds. All right? So now let's look at some of these other windows and see what the time is on some of the other pulses. And it should be pretty close. 7.25. 7.25. 7.25. So we go to this one. 7.25. Now, we found, so it takes 7.25 seconds to get from the tip of the electrode, or milliseconds, to get from the tip of the electrode to the white recording electrode on my thumb. So now we're going to look and see how long it takes for the signal to get from my elbow to my thumb. So in order to do that, we have to first find the spot. So we get out of here. Where is it? And close out the stimulator panel. I don't want it to save. It'd be nice if we could save it, but so we go back to nerve effects. And we jack it up to 15 again. And this time I'm going to stimulate the same nerve, but from the crook of my elbow. And typically it's in this region. You can see I get really good twitching, right? It's not just that, but it's stimulating the whole elbow. So then we stop. We know where the sweet spot is. Go out of this program. Save. And we go back into evoked EMG. Turn on the stimulator, and we'll crank it up to 15 again. And so then we're going to hit start. I'm going to do start and stops again. Here we go. There's a nice big peak, 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 nice big peak, nice big peak. So if we do the same thing we did before, drag our M onto the trace where the stimulus first happens, and then go out to the peak. Notice what our time is. So it's at 11.75. Let's go here. What's that?
12.25.
What's that? 12.5.
12.5.
12.5. 12.5.
12.5.
So you would have to figure out what the average is, but we'll just say it's 12.5. So the short distance was about 7.25, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
7.25 to go from here to here, 12.5 to go from here to here. So then we measure how far that is, this distance between the two marks, and it's about 25 centimeters. So if you divide 25, or if you first, you have 25 centimeters, And you know 12.5 from the long point minus 7.25 from the short point. What is that? That's 0.25, what, 5.25 or 4.75? 5.25.
Yes.
Yeah, 5.25. 5.25 milliseconds. So it goes 25 centimeters in 5.25 milliseconds, which is equal to, not your handy dandy cell phone calculator. That's going to be in the range of about 40 something, right? Where's my, I don't know how great it is to have a calculator everywhere you go in this day and age. So it's 4.76 centimeters per millisecond, which is equal to 47.6 meters per second. So 47 meters per second, that's smoking. All right, click.